All right, so today we're going to be diving into something I think a lot of us have experienced heartbreak.
Yeah.
If you're looking to understand why it hurts so much and you know how to move on, then you're in the right place.
Exactly.
Because today we are going deep into the neuroscience of heartbreak.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. We're going to be using insights from a video by Dr. Andrew Huberman.
Oh, yeah. Love his stuff.
He's a neuroscientist at Stanford. He had a video on a YouTube channel called Neuro Lifestyle, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to be pulling our information from today.
Awesome.
Our mission basically is to figure out why breakups feel like the end of the world.
Yeah, like why are they so hard to get over?
Right. And then also, what are some evidence-based strategies that we can use to actually heal?
Love it.
So to get started, one of the things that Huberman says is that...
Well, actually, what's interesting is Huberman doesn't just treat heartbreak as like this fluffy emotional thing.
Right.
He connects it to actual grief. Like your brain is processing an actual loss.
Yeah, he uses this analogy that I think will resonate with a lot of people, he says.
Okay.
Especially for younger people, a breakup can feel like their whole world is imploding.
Yeah, like everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
And he explains this really well using this concept of a space-time closeness map.
Oh.
A space-time closeness map.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, basically it's how your brain is mapping out where and when important people fit into your life.
Okay, so like
with a breakup, it completely disrupts this map.
Gotcha.
And then your brain has to totally rewire itself to adjust to this new reality.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just us being dramatic.
No.
There's a neurological reason why breakups just
like even the smallest things can trigger you back into that emotional pit.
You're going about your day and then boom, you hear a song.
Yeah.
And it's right back to square one.
And that's that space-time closeness map being reactivated.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's so interesting. And then Huberman says...
Well, actually, and then he says social media makes it even worse.
Social media?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like your brain's constantly being pulled back to that old map.
Okay.
Because you're seeing your exes post their stories.
Yeah.
It makes letting go so much harder.
It's like almost preventing the healing from ever even starting.
Right.
Interesting. And then another thing he brings up is how men and women seem to experience heartbreak differently.
Okay.
He mentioned a study where women reported feeling more pain initially.
Interesting.
But they ended up recovering more fully than men.
So why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Do you think maybe societal expectations play a role?
Maybe.
Like there's often this pressure on men to be strong and not show vulnerability.
Right.
Maybe they try to suppress their emotions.
Right, like they're trying to skip over the whole grieving process, whereas women might be more comfortable expressing their sadness.
Yeah, and actually working through it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if that initial intensity actually helps women in the long run.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So regardless of gender, though, Huberman's really clear on one thing.
What's that?
The only way to truly get over a breakup is to confront it head on.
Like, face it.
Yeah. Let yourself feel the sadness and the pain.
Don't try to bottle it up.
Yeah, he's basically saying suppressing or avoiding those emotions actually makes the whole process take longer.
Yeah, it's like ignoring a wound.
Yeah.
It might seem easier in the moment, but it's just going to fester if you don't take care of it.
He even shared a personal story about how he poured all of his energy into work after a breakup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it gave him a sense of purpose, but it also delayed his healing.
How so?
Because he wasn't letting himself actually process the loss.
Like he was creating an illusion of moving on, but the emotional wound was still there.
Exactly. And he was using work as a coping mechanism.
Which we all do sometimes.
Right. And it can backfire.
It can.
So it's just about being honest with ourselves about what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And then finding healthy ways to deal with it.
So then the question becomes, how do we actually do that?
Yeah, how do we move from understanding this to actually healing?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, but before we get into the specifics, I think it's important to understand the difference between healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah, Huberman talked about this too.
He did.
He contrasted things like turning to substance abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Or jumping into rebound relationships.
Right.
You know, those are generally considered unhealthy.
They are.
He talked about something called cathartic release.
Cathartic release.
Yeah. And he even used the example of Steve Jobs screaming into the hills.
Oh, really?
But he was careful to say that was just a personal anecdote.
Right.
Not like a scientifically proven method.
Of course. So maybe not screaming into the wilderness.
Maybe not.
But the idea is to find a healthy outlet.
Yeah.
So maybe journaling or talking to a therapist.
Those are good.
What are some other healthy ways that you can think of?
Well, one of the most important things is to acknowledge and validate your feelings.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to minimize them or rush the process.
Give yourself permission to be sad.
Yes. Sad, angry, confused, whatever comes up.
It's like instead of judging yourself for still feeling heartbroken, you're like, this is okay.
Yeah, this is a natural part of the process.
Yeah.
And remember, everyone heals at their own pace.
So no comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel.
Especially not on social media.
Exactly.
And don't forget about your support system.
Oh, yeah, your friends and family.
Talk to people who can offer a listening ear.
Sometimes just having someone validate your feelings can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And of course, seeking professional help from a therapist can be really beneficial.
For sure.
It's about giving yourself the time and space you need to heal.
And surrounding yourself with people who can support you.
Yeah, speaking of support,
Yeah.
Huberman also brought up something else really important.
What's that?
He said that we often torture ourselves by dwelling on the past.
Oh, yeah. The shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Yeah, replaying events, overthinking.
It's like we get stuck in a loop of longing and regret.
And it hinders our ability to heal.
It really does.
He even compared it to animal studies,
Really?
where animals are literally hurting themselves trying to get to something they can't have anymore.
Wow, that's powerful.
So the takeaway here is to consciously shift your focus away from the past.
To the present and future.
Yeah. So how do we actually do that?
That's a great question, and that's what we'll explore next.
So stay tuned.
So we were talking about shifting your focus from the past to the present and future.
Yeah.
But, like, how do you actually do that?
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
Totally. It's like your head knows
Yeah.
you need to move on, but your heart hasn't quite gotten the memo.
Exactly.
That's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness that you'd give a friend
Right.
who is going through the same thing.
So, like, instead of beating myself up for still feeling sad,
Exactly.
I should just acknowledge that it's okay
Yes.
and that it's normal.
Remember, there's no set timeline for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone processes grief differently.
You might have days where you're feeling good,
Exactly.
and then suddenly it hits you again.
Like those waves that Huberman talks about.
Little waves?
Yeah, sometimes they're gentle and sometimes they knock you off your feet.
Oh, yeah.
But the key is to ride them out.
Don't try to fight them.
Exactly.
Okay, but how do I actually do that?
Well, in addition to journaling or talking to friends,
Yeah.
mindfulness can be a really powerful tool.
Mindfulness.
Yeah, things like meditation or deep breathing.
Okay.
They can help calm your nervous system down.
So it's like hitting pause on all those emotions.
Yeah, exactly. Giving yourself a chance to breathe and get some perspective.
Makes sense. And speaking of perspective,
Yeah.
another thing we can do is shift our focus outwards.
Yes. Engage in activities that bring you joy
Okay.
and a sense of purpose.
So like hobbies,
Hobbies, yeah.
spending time with friends and family.
Yes. Spending time in nature, volunteering.
Oh, yeah. Taking up a new class.
Exactly. It's about rediscovering those things that make you feel alive.
I love that. And you know what else?
What?
Don't underestimate the power of exercise.
Yes.
Endorphins, baby.
Endorphins, they have mood-boosting effects.
And they can help with some of those physical symptoms of heartbreak.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
Like the fatigue and low energy.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
It is.
Like taking care of your physical health can actually help your emotional well-being.
Big time.
But what about like the social aspect of things? Like
Okay.
how do I navigate friendships and social situations?
Well, it's important to be mindful of your social energy.
Okay.
It's okay to decline invitations if you're just not feeling up to it.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself
Surround yourself with people who are supportive.
and understanding.
Yes. Those who can provide a safe space for you.
It's about quality over quantity
Absolutely.
and just being honest about what you need.
What about those friends, though?
Which ones?
The ones who are always like, you need to get back out there.
Oh, yeah, like pushing you to start dating again.
That's where boundaries come in.
Boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay to politely but firmly let them know that you're not ready.
It's your healing journey.
Exactly.
You get to decide the pace.
But what about those constant reminders of your ex?
Yeah.
How do you cope with those triggers?
Especially with social media nowadays.
That's where the space-time closeness map comes in.
Yeah, okay.
Your brain is still adjusting.
So those feelings are natural.
Yes. It could be a song, a place you used to go together.
It feels like a punch in the gut sometimes.
It can.
Yeah.
And while you can't completely avoid those triggers,
Okay.
you can definitely minimize them.
Okay, good.
If social media is tough,
Yeah.
maybe unfollow your ex or take a break.
Create that distance.
Exactly. And if you have physical reminders,
Like what?
like gifts or photos, maybe put them away for a bit.
Yeah, just out of sight, out of mind.
You can revisit them later when you're feeling stronger.
So it's not about erasing the past. It's about giving yourself the space to heal.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about those intrusive thoughts?
Which ones?
The what ifs, the should
Oh,
have.
the rumination trap?
Yeah. How do I quiet those down?
Well, it's easy to get caught in that cycle.
Of overthinking.
Yes, and overanalyzing.
Yeah.
But remember, those thoughts aren't always true or helpful.
So do I just try to ignore them?
Ignoring them can actually make them stronger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a better approach is to acknowledge them,
Okay.
but without judgment.
Okay.
Notice them, label them,
Yeah.
and then gently redirect your attention.
To the present moment.
Yes.
So, like, if I'm dwelling on a what if,
Yeah.
I could say to myself, okay, this is just a thought.
Mhm.
It doesn't define my reality.
Exactly.
And then focus on something else.
Maybe your breath or the sensations in your body.
Okay.
Or engage in an activity that needs your attention.
So it's about breaking free from that cycle of rumination,
Yes.
bringing yourself back to the here and now.
Exactly.
It's like building a mental muscle.
It is.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
But what about that other muscle?
What other muscle?
The heart. We've been focusing so much on the brain.
Yeah,
But how does this all tie back into dating again?
that's a great question.
And that leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh.
We'll explore how technology, specifically dating apps,
Okay.
is shaping the way we search for love.
So if you're ready to swipe right on some knowledge,
About dating apps.
stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and we're going to be talking about dating apps.
Dating apps.
It's crazy how technology has like totally changed how we find love.
That's a whole different ballgame.
It is like gone are the days of those like awkward setups from your friends.
Right. You don't have to rely on chance encounters anymore.
No, you can just like browse hundreds of potential partners
It's from your couch.
from your couch. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's pretty wild. But how is this affecting the way we form relationships, experience heartbreak, and find love?
Well, that's the big question, right? I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But on one hand, it's made dating more accessible,
Okay.
especially for people with niche interests or people who might face barriers.
Like in traditional settings.
Exactly.
So it's like breaking down those barriers and opening up possibilities.
Yeah. And if you're new to a city or you have a busy life,
Or you just prefer a more curated approach.
the apps give you a sense of control
Yeah.
and efficiency
It's like having a personal matchmaker
in your pocket.
in your pocket. I love that. But let's be real. There's another side to this. Right?
Of course, there's always a flip side.
We've all heard the horror stories.
The ghosting, the catfishing.
The endless swiping.
It can feel more like a chore sometimes.
Than actually looking for a genuine connection.
And that's the thing, the gamified nature of it all.
Yeah.
It can overshadow the authenticity and vulnerability.
Right.
That's crucial for building a relationship.
You're right. It's like you see all these new faces and it's instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to slow down and actually get to know someone.
Yeah, and then there's choice overload.
Oh, choice overload.
When you're bombarded with all these options,
Right.
it's paralyzing.
You can't commit.
Right. You don't even know what you want anymore.
The grass is always greener.
Exactly.
You're always wondering if there's someone better out there.
Just swipe away.
I bet that leads to anxiety.
It does. It can lead to dissatisfaction even in good relationships.
Yeah. And then there's the whole thing about expectations.
Yeah. How are these apps shaping our expectations of relationship?
Right. Like when you're looking at these curated profiles and filtered photos.
It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing.
Yeah. Like comparing yourself and your relationship to this idealized version of love.
Like everyone's putting their best self forward.
Right.
It makes it hard to be vulnerable.
And it sets up these unrealistic expectations.
Right. For what relationships are actually like
It's like looking at a highlight reel.
versus the behind the scenes.
And I bet that can lead to a cycle of disappointment.
It makes it harder to find a connection that lasts.
So I guess what you're saying is, yeah, dating apps are convenient, but
Approach them with caution.
yeah, and with self-awareness.
Yes. Be mindful of the potential downsides
Don't let it take over your life.
and use them in a way that aligns with your values.
It's a tool.
It is.
It can help us connect,
But it can't replace the human element.
which is essential for building a lasting relationship.
You got it.
We have all this technology,
Mm-hmm.
but love still boils down to human connection.
Vulnerability and shared experiences.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as you navigate the world of dating,
Okay.
whether online or offline,
Yeah.
stay true to yourself,
Be yourself.
prioritize genuine connection,
And remember, you are worthy of love.
just as you are.
And even though heartbreak can be painful,
It can.
it can also be an opportunity for growth,
For self-discovery.
and for finding a love that's even stronger than before.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the science of heartbreak, the world of dating apps, and everything in between.
Say yeah.